Now, one thing we did in the last lectures is we used the Express router. And right now we have a setup where we also have some unhandled routes. If we enter some random string here, we get this error. Now, typically, we would want to see a 404 error page, and we can't do that. Back in the app.js file, we can take advantage of the middlewares, or the way Express uses the middlewares and funnels the request through them. Remember that the request goes from top to bottom. So if it finds some middleware that handles it, it will go in there. And then, for example, here for slash with that get method on the router, we would actually end here. We also got no next call here, so no other middleware would be executed. But if we got no fitting middleware, and we don't have one here, then we actually make it all the way to the bottom, and eventually we don't handle that request. So to send a 404 error page, we simply have to add a catch-all middleware at the bottom, where we don't need a path filter, but we could add slash, but that's the default anyways. And then simply handle request response next. Since I use here, this will also handle all HTTP methods, not just GET requests. And there I can then also send some code like page not found. So a little dummy HTML document. And maybe we also want to set the 404 status code. And you can do that by chaining another method prior to send, and that is the status method. And of course, you cannot just use it here. You could have used it here or in the admin.js file too. So always before sending, you can call status too, or set header. You can actually chain all these method calls. Send just has to be the last one. So here I'm calling status to set my status code, another convenience method added by ExpressJS, and I'll set it to 404, which is the common code for a page was not found. With this added, if I save this and I now reload my dummy path here, I get page not found, whereas for add product, I still get that form. So this is still working. The rest, however, changed. There is one other notable feature about the Express router that I want to show you. Now we have a catch-all route, and we got our outsourced routes here. Now, sometimes these outsourced routes have a common starting path. So let's say all the admin routes actually are triggered with admin/add product and admin, maybe also add product. We can repeat the path here because we got different methods, get and post. So these will be two different routes too. So that is one important takeaway already. The same path can be used if the methods differ. Of course, here in the form, I should also point at add product then. But there is another important takeaway. If we have such a setup where our paths in such a router file start with the same part or with the same segment here, we can take that segment out of this route here and then go to the app.js file and add it here. So add that segment as a filter. Now only routes starting with /admin will go into the admin routes file, so to say. And not only that, it also will, or ExpressJS will also omit or ignore this /admin part in the URL now when it tries to match these routes. So now /add product will match the /admin/add product route because /admin was already stripped out here, you could say. Let me show this to you in practice. If I reload my add product route, we get page not found because this does not exist anymore. This is now /admin/add product. And indeed, here's the form. And if I now add my book again here and hit add product, I get page not found. And the reason for that is that, of course, here in form action, I'm leading to /add product, but this should be /admin/add product too, because we want to reach that route, which is in the admin.js file, which is only reachable through requests that have /admin at the beginning. So let's give this another try. Let's go to /admin/add product. And let's try adding that book again. Now we are redirected. And now we can also see that we are logging this here. So this filtering mechanism here in app.js allows us to put a common starting segment for our path, which all routes in a given file use, to outsource that into this app.js file so that we don't have to repeat it for all the routes here. Implicitly, this route is reached under admin add product, and so is this route here. This one with a post request and this one with a get request. Now this can be a bit challenging to wrap your head around, but this is another core thing you have to understand, how these requests are funneled through and how they may reach this file if they start with /admin, because we are filtering here, and how in that file the /admin part is then not checked again, but it only checks the second part and therefore reaches this or this request route here. So now that we had a very close look at the whole Express middleware thing and how routing works in Express and how we can use it to our advantage, how we can filter routes and so on, let's actually start working on what we serve to the user. Thus far, it has always been some dummy HTML content, but you're probably not in the course to just learn how to build dummy HTML content. So let's return some real HTML files to the user that also don't look like crap. For this, I'll create a new folder in my project and I'll name it Views. Now, that name is up to you. You can also name that folder whatever you want, but in that course, we will slowly go towards a MVC, model view controller structure, and I will explain what this is a little bit later. One part of it is that we manage our views, so what we serve to the user, in one place of our application in the views folder here. Now, the views will just be a bunch of HTML files here though. So we'll create a new file, and that will be my shop.html file. It's the file I want to serve for users visiting just /. And I also want to have my add product file here. So I'll add product.html. Later, by the way, in case you already know the concept of templating engines, we'll use these two so that we can dynamically add content into the HTML files. But for now, let's just start with these files. So let's start here in add product HTML. And now here's one important note. If you're not interested in writing that HTML code, you can skip this lecture now and find the finished HTML code attached to this and the next lecture. So if you want to skip, you can do that and just follow along in the next lecture where I will provide that finished HTML code. Otherwise, let's now create it together. So in this add product HTML file, I'll now create a new HTML5 skeleton, and Visual Studio Code helps you with that. As you saw, if you just type HTML, it should open this pop-up. If it doesn't, you can force it by typing or by hitting Control and space, and then navigate to HTML5 with the arrow keys and hit Enter. And it gives you this nice skeleton, which basically defines a basic, well, HTML skeleton. Now here, I'll change the title to add product, and in the body, there I now want to have my form. I don't just want to have the form in there though, I also want to have some navigation bar that allows me to switch to my shop HTML page, to the / route, and the other way around. So here I will first of all add a header, and in that header I'll add a nav bar, and in that nav bar I'll add an unordered list with list items, which are links, where I go to /, so this is just my shop, and then another list item, add product, which will be /add product. This is the page we're on here, but I always want to show both options. Obviously, you can write the HTML code that fits your needs. So this is the header. It will be pretty unstyled for now. We'll add styling too. And now let's add a main section too. So this is also a normal HTML element, which holds or which should hold the content of our page here. And there I want to have my form with the action that is also add product. Remember, here we're then targeting this post route. And in there, or there, I will add my post method. And I will now also add my input here, the input of type text with a name of title. And I will add my button of type submit here, which I'll label add product. Now, we will add more to this form later because a product is obviously not just made up of a title. But for now, this will do. We got our form in here. Let's now copy that entire HTML code and paste it into the shop HTML file. And there, of course, in the main section, I don't want to have a form. Instead, a h1 tag, my products, and below that, later in the course, we will render all the products. So here we will have a list of all the products. Right now, we don't have that, but we'll get there once we learn how to manage data on the server and so on. Now, the rest of the page can stay the same for both pages. And again, as I mentioned, styling is missing. Let's now move on to the next lecture, where the goal will be to serve these HTML pages before we then work on the styling.